So this is a 2015 Ducati Monster 821. Really fun ride. Desmo, 4-valve, 2-cylinder, right? And there's a couple of known issues on these types of bikes. One thing that I'm still trying to figure out is intermittent starting problems. So basically when the thing hits about 180 degrees Fahrenheit or above, it needs a 5-minute cool down to start again, regardless of what temperature it goes to. It just needs 5 minutes. Kind of peculiar. Anyway, having a look at the system, oxygen sensor, looks like that got pretty warm. Some wires are melting there, yay. Found his friend. There's another one. Anyway, this is the oil pressure sensor. This is actually my gremlin right now. This dude is leaking oil through this tip here under pressure. This is a relocation tube from the factory that they use to make that thing flow to a direction they want. There's a single wire connector here that is bundled with the horn, this guy, which is not really getting a very good protection. And there's this little yellow thing in here. So you'll use 2 wrenches to swap this out. And the part number, I'm sure, is specific to our Ducati build. I'll be happy to find out I'm wrong about that. I'll show you one thing on the other side I think makes it a possibility. Anyway, I was preparing to replace my bed mattress and have one to put outside, which I need to do anyway, and replace this clutch cover. But I think actually all this oil that's come all the way through this entire area has been gradually coming off of that. And I'm guessing that replacing the oil gave it enough detergent and new viscosity to start coming through there in mass, as opposed to before. Gulp, it's hot out. So, yeah, my guess is the oil change led up to some new leakability on an already tired system. Coolant. So there are aftermarket caps available that make this much more serviceable, so that you don't have to mess with the cover or use thin fingers. But if you do take this off using a 4mm hex, you'll find some fuses in here. You have your 3 spares, and I wonder why they didn't put some more spares there. Let's see. Yeah, because that would involve them having to put rubbery holders in there. Honestly, they could probably just bounce around in there loosely. I might stock this up with some more fuses, because 30, 25, and 7.5 doesn't exactly cover this population in here, and they have slots aplenty. There's just spares 10, 20, and 15. So they don't have a 5, they don't have a 3 spare, which is lame. But I'm gonna check all these. So yeah, always make sure your fans are spinning freely. And let's see, there's a recall to make the back brake able to do some braking things. Just bear in mind on Ducatis the back brake doesn't do much. But of course, always better to have than not have. This cover came off by me pulling this out and off. This is an OBDX, I don't know what kind of protocol, but I have an adapter coming. I'm thinking about routing this to a standard size adapter, wiring off power to bring up a cable to get a voltmeter so we can see voltage, as I think the starter issue could be an overcharging issue and a sign of a regulator problem. So this is the Batwing. Every single Ducati Monster 821 has one of these. This is what covers your cluster gauge here. Pretty cool little design. 2 of these screws with, I think, the 4 again to get that to come loose. But what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to disconnect I saw it a minute ago. There are 2 large ground wires here that another YouTuber posted a warning on. good warning, which I will share. Boy, see it till you don't. Well, while I'm looking, this I believe is almost exactly the same as a Toyota 2-pin trigger for these spark plug ignition boosters. Can't think of the word right now because I did not sleep well last night. But yeah, if you were to ever need one, there's a good chance it's the same as a Toyota. One for each cylinder. There's your plug. It goes to the top of each of the cylinders. And yeah, ignition coils. Here, sorry, being blocked. That guy right there. That hex head looks like maybe a 12, 10 or 12, can't tell. This dude holds down two wires, two large wires that provide ground to the system and the chassis. If you disconnect that, then your battery won't have any ground anymore, supposedly. I'll check that. And it would redact this part of the video if I'm lying here. But yeah, you somebody put a plug in this drain hose, and we actually need one more of these, which this is not. We're missing one of these. Yeah. But yeah, so your coolant, this is your overflow line, right? It's supposed to be inside of that. This is supposed to be zip tied down. There's a little grabber there. And you can see that's the common. It splits out from the water pump, goes to each cylinder, and looks like there's a return from both on this T. I don't know if this has a thermostat or not. It's a peculiar looking T for sure. And then there's also your intake. You have your intake filter here, right? And we have the tank strap to hold down the gas tank. There's a rubber thing, you gotta put this guy at the bottom. There's a process. These two guys. This hose for the fuel and this one for the water that comes and drains the ring. This is your air box. There's an intake there and there. And then your valves are riding off of these cams here. And this is your fuel hose. You squeeze it this way to pull it off. It's been a standard on Ducatis for a long time. This thing uses an internally regulated fuel system, so you only have one line instead of two. I checked this ground is continuous. That's more of a safety ground than anything. Functionally, this guy has his own ground in his 4-pin apparatus. That's likely, I'm guessing that there's a signal ground and a chassis ground on the system. I'm about to determine that. I'll put it in the notes. I'm not recanting this video based on that, but yeah, I'm guessing that the 4 wires, you have your pump power, and then those are keys, by the way. These 2 things are keys, and that's a key. Those are 4 wires there, and there's 4 wires in this harness. But yeah, it's probably for your low fuel detection. This model has a single, you know, maybe I should show you. Wow, we're at almost 10 minutes here. This model has a single hole in the tank in the bottom. See, that's the drain. One of these is the drain for when you have water in that area. But see, this guy here, this is how the 2015, I think the 14, 15, 16, and 17 look. And there's these 2 guys here. Sure thing I really don't want to have to find if I were to buy one of these used. because they strip everything off, and I'm not keen on taking that off. But yeah, I think the one has just a tall straw. I think the other guy has some kind of routing involved, which hopefully is captive to the tank. I suspect this is some type of coolant line, but I'm not confident in that. There's one on both cylinders. And then this almost looks like it goes to like an EGR system, which is bizarre, but it's a soft hose and definitely not your primary airflow. So yeah, your stator, which is like an alternator, is in here, and your regulator is down here. And when you are messing with the battery, there's a little window right there you can put a tool into so it doesn't come flying out. And on the battery, there is a tall positive terminal that you can unscrew without removing the battery in order to remove the battery. And then the negative, I think, has enough give from there, but I don't think I'm going that far this time. I was there last time and the battery had good voltage. And I think if I were to do a battery tender, I would just abuse the voltage here. My only concern right now is, I know where 12 volts is, but I have 4 things ringing to ground here. So I'm gonna try to isolate those when I do the disconnect on those 2 large ground wires and see if I can get that isolated and figure out which one is actually properly it. Otherwise, I'll try to find a drawing. And I think I'll check this air filter while I'm in here. This is the 3mm hex to get that out, and I think it just pulls straight out after that. So yeah, and then I'll be checking to see what type of grounds run between this thing and the ECU. This is the injector system. I suspect that this is also intelligent, and I know that there are a couple of fuses in this spacing here. I'm so glad the more important ones are probably there.